record. All right. So yeah, man, today I have a guest on. We're talking about a little bit of our experiences with I like to call the oxycodone nightmare, because it really is a nightmare. For me, it was one of those things where it really almost took me out. Out of all the drugs that I experimented with through my addiction, that was the one that almost took me out. So yeah, man, just got Shane Rollins on the show. He also has some experiences he likes to share, talk about, just a little bit about addiction. And he's also an arm wrestler too. So, we have that in common. But yeah, Shane, tell a little bit about how your addiction basically got started and where you were at in your life.
Okay. I personally believe that I was an alcoholic and an addict before I ever picked up a drink or a drug. Since I was a kid, I call it like the disease of more. Like if one's good, then 10 will get me started. Anything I do in excess, and in some things it can be beneficial. But for me, I started smoking pot when I was like 12 years old, maybe, and drank, and I never drank like the people around me. Like I can remember people being like, man, we smoked so much pot, I'm so high, but I wanted to keep going, even as like a 12-year-old. So that just stayed with me throughout my whole life, into the oxys and stuff. Though, when I was in 1998, we could do a whole podcast on this, but I was shot with a high-powered rifle and it blew out the back of my knee. It hit my femoral artery. I was told I would never walk again. They prepared my parents for the fact that I wasn't going to make it because they couldn't stop the bleeding. It was a big deal. And I was in shock trauma for like 33 days, didn't walk for like a year or two. And when I did walk, there was a long, long road to recovery. And that's where I first picked up opiates. And it's funny because I didn't really abuse them back then. I would take them when I was hurting and it was fine. But I can remember one of the first times my mom kind of like left me alone with one of my boys. So like he went to the fridge, grabbed like 6 beers, we like crushed them, and I took like 4 of my Percocets. And I was like, man, this feels pretty fucking nice. I can see where this could be a problem. But it wasn't until later on in life, I was in my I was probably around 2021, the first time I ever, might even have been later than that, the first time I ever got introduced to those little blue devils that are the Oxy 80s. And I don't know how I'm still here, because the first time I ever fucking did it, and like I said, I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic. First time I ever did it, I had been up for about 3 or 4 days doing cocaine, drinking the whole time. And we ran out of resources. We called to get some more and there was no more. And we knew it was about to be fucking not fun. So this deviant female that we were with at the time pulled this bottle out of her pocket and said, I got these things and this will help us come down and we'll feel real good. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. Well, it was 3 of us. It was me, her, and this other guy. I had never seen him, and I was used to taking the little 5 milligram oxycodones. So she pulls out the 80s and she crushes up 3 or 4 of them, I forget, between 3 of us. So there's these giant lines. And I remember you put something in front of me, I'm going to do it. So the first time I ever did an oxy, I did like almost 2 80s. Like how I didn't die is beyond me. But I remember I got sick. I was fucking really, really sick. For a couple of days, I was worthless. The fact that I had been doing cocaine for a couple of days probably didn't help, but I remember being like, fuck those things. They just make you puke and make you feel terrible for a couple of days. So I was like, I have no use for them. Well, it was like a year later or something. One of my friends pulled one out and was like, have you ever done these? And I'm like, yeah, they're terrible. And he's like, well, how many did you, what did you do? And I was like, I think I did like 2 of them. He's like, Jesus Christ, and you had never done them before? And I'm like, yeah. So he scratched up like a quarter of one and gave me a line of it. And I was like, this is it. I found it. And I chased that feeling for a long time, man, and got into the 30s, got into, you know, whatever I could. They kind of dried up around where I'm at. Doctors were getting in trouble, and they were getting harder to find.
Did you guys
So
did you guys have like pain pill like mills going? Like we here in Florida, we had a
there,
lot of people come
yeah,
into,
Florida, I heard was
you
yeah,
know,
exactly that, a pill mill. They were making money.
what area do you live in?
I live in a town called Frederick, Maryland, and I wouldn't call it like the pill mills like I've heard about in Florida, but we had doctors that, you go in, you tell them you hurt, and they ask how many you want, what kind you want. I mean, they were giving them out like candy for a long time, but see, this is me, be my ego getting in the way. Like I didn't want to be associated with them. Like I was fine with doing cocaine and drinking and doing all this shit, but like for the longest time, I would never buy pills. I would get my buddy to go do it. And I was like, well, I don't want to get involved with it. And then eventually, I did.
Mhm.
So I, the pills, I'm an alcoholic first and foremost, but I don't think I would be sober today if it wasn't for these drugs, because I think they just took me to my bottom a lot quicker. Um, yeah, and
Were
when they dried up and stuff, people were getting on the Suboxone. I
mm.
didn't know anything about that. Actually, the first time I took Suboxone, I was in jail, in a work release program, and they piss test you all the time. So I'm getting back from work, going back into jail, going to the shower, and I see this dude crushing up shit on the counter. I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing, man? Like they piss test us all the time." And he's like, "Oh, this is this new stuff. It's called Suboxone. They don't test for it." So of course, my drug addict self is like, "Well, then give me some, please." And
Mhm.
I took it, and it's replacing one thing for another. There's a lot of people who are sober or in recovery that are on that, and that's their own journey, and I don't hate on it. But for me personally, it's trading one drug for another, and I think that is a way worse evil. um Detox from Suboxone. I've heard people legitimately tell people who were on heroin, if they wanted to get into, or that were on Suboxone, if they wanted to get into a detox center, to go do heroin for a month, so your withdrawals and your detox is not as fucking terrible.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually, unfortunately, well, fortunately and unfortunately, but I went through a detox of Suboxone in jail. Like I was doing, because I was coming off of, I was finally kind of coming off. But my problem is, like in my addict mind was, oh, I found something to take away the pain from the withdrawals, so I won't be dope sick, and
Exactly.
that's exactly what I ended up utilizing that for. Were you when you were using your pills and stuff, were you also continuing drinking? Like you say, you're an avid believer that you're like 100% alcoholic. So was that always in the forefront while you were using?
Alcohol is always there. You can always go to a liquor store and get alcohol. Sometimes drug dealers don't have the pills. Uh, get kicked out of pain clinics. I mean, alcohol was the one constant for me. And yes and no. I always drank alcoholically. Like if I was gonna drink, I was gonna get blacked out drunk, fight people, fuck people, whatever. I was belligerent. I was a complete not fun person to be around. But my drinking calmed down for I say calm down. I didn't go to jail for a long time. After I was like 25, 26, maybe a little bit later than that, but I stopped getting in trouble. I met my wife. The first time my wife met me, I don't remember because I was in a blackout. And the next time she met me, I was coming into a party. It's the middle of like December. I got my shirt ripped off of me. I had just gotten in a fight in a parking lot, blacked out drunk. It's 20 degrees outside, and I come in with no shirt on, and she's like, "That's the man I'm gonna marry." And I'm not a big guy. I'm 140 pounds, but I remember the guy I was fighting was like 6'6", and out of nowhere, I just slapped this guy in the face. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? But when I met her, I kind of calmed down. My drinking was on the weekends. I would still get blacked out, but I calmed down a little bit. I ended up having my son, and then a little bit later we had a daughter. And an outsider looking in would tell you I'm doing great. Bought the house, did all the things that normal people do. Inside, I'm just eating up, man, and hiding my drinking, my drug use from everyone. I wasn't very good at it. According to my wife, I thought I was fooling everyone. And I think I fooled most people except for her because she lived with me. But when I was like 33, I was actually getting ready to go to an arm wrestling tournament. I had a tournament out in, I forget where it was, but I remember one of my good buddies who I used to run with was really excited. Like, we had this weekend and we were going to drive up together and just, have a good time, stay out there. And like 2 days before we were going to go, I got a call and he had overdosed and he died. And from that point on, my drinking was bad then, but I remember that was like the tipping point where it was just like, fuck it. I was crushing vodka every day. I would go up, there was a bar not far from my house, had a bunch of motorcycle guys in there. I wouldn't even go in there and drink. I would just go up to this biker dude, hand him the cash, get the Coke, go back to my house. I mean, I was I was in a bad way for a long time until I hit my bottom, that I decided, I couldn't do it anymore. I was fucking exhausted. People don't realize, I mean, you think of drug addicts and alcoholics as fucking deviants. It's a lot of fucking work to stay high and drunk. It's exhausting.
Oh man, full-time job. And it's so true. And I think, and I tell, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do these types of shows to not only share the message of hope, but to make people understand that as addicts, we are such hard workers. Like, we're just working hard at the wrong things because of our addictions. But I mean, like you said, I mean, I would spend hours hustling just to get dope. And it was like a full-time job, just, waking up enslaved to this addiction. Like, it's just crazy. But, and that's why I want people to understand that when you can get sober, you can utilize this kind of hard work ethic, and push yourself in positive aspects of your life, with your family and your work. And you probably see that now that you're sober, the more productive things you're doing with your life now that you weren't doing before because you were in such a kind of drug state.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had a lot of things during that time that I would hang my hat on. My oldest son has special needs, and I was told throughout my addiction and my drinking all the time what a great father I was. And like, I truly believed that at the time. And my father, I'm a carpenter by trade. My dad was a carpenter, his dad was a carpenter. And one of the things that was instilled in me very early on was, you go to fucking work. Mm-hmm. Like, whether I slept or not, like, I was going to go to work. So I hung my hat on that. Like, I'm a good dad, I go to work, so I must be fine, right? And talking about my son with special needs, I credit that a large part of my being sober. It's difficult being a dad to a kid with special needs. Cameron has autism and is nonverbal, and some days are amazing. He's my best friend in the whole world, but some days are really, really fucking tough. I saw a thing on Facebook the other day saying, like, parents to people with special needs have like the other people will never feel the seclusion or exhaustedness that a parent with special needs have. And I commented on it right away because I try and stay positive. It's like, but they also will never experience the joy that we get to feel when they succeed, or seeing them overcome things. If Cameron wasn't so hard, I don't know that I think I'd have been able to, maybe not forever, but I think I could have, kept on being miserable for a little bit more time. But you know, he's a huge part of God saving my life, and that's the way I see it. I don't think I had much to do with it, you know. I think
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that what an amazing perspective to have about that too, because it is you know, we have a daughter, she has she's on the spectrum, and you know, not not nonverbal, but and I understand each situation is more, you know, a lot more challenging. My wife is a behavior analyst. She deals with kids with autism and behaviors, and you know, just in bad places. So I understand how that must feel just by those examples that I hear every day from her and stuff. And you know, just having kids myself, a little bit exhausting that is, but you know, it's so amazing when you have children in your life, how they help you so much more than you help them. You know what I mean? Like, it's so crazy because
Yeah.
they help you to be a better person, then you're able to kind of instill good values to them. But without that combination, and you can't even explain it to someone that doesn't have kids. Because before we adopted the kids, I had such a selfish understanding of what life was about. And then now I am focused on, you know, it's all about them, like, because it's not about me. And we learned that in recovery anyway, because it's always about service. And, you know, with that being said, that's how, when we go through these challenges and help other people, we kind of forget about our own problems, and we kind of, you know, get to help others. And
We
that's
got
really
that
big
ism,
plus. Yeah. Yeah.
I, self, and me.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And I'm not much, but I'm all I think about.
I know, no, that's my favorite saying, dude. That's my
Yeah.
favorite saying. I tell that to people all the time, and it's like they never heard that before. But that's a very popular saying in the rooms, because it is so true, man. It's all I think about is me, and you know, not to
Yeah.
jump ahead into recovery right yet, but you know, the thing about it is like we are so selfish, you know, and it's crazy how, you know, that can really overtake our lives through our addiction sometimes. But you know, so you were out of control using, you're trying to hide it like we all do. I mean, it's funny though, we all think that we're disguising it, but the people that are close to us, I mean, I had a girl once that I was hiding. Like, I had a big thing here in Florida. Roxy's were real popular, so it was like 30 milligrams, you know, the blues. So that's what my real downfall was at the end. But I would hide them. I would take out pins and I would hide them in pins, and
Yeah.
fucking this girl would find them. Like, I don't know if I was just the shittiest fucking dope hider, but anyway, like, I always thought I was fooling people, but I was nodding off. I was like slurring. I was just like, when I look at who that guy was now, because I've seen so many addicts in that state, it's like crazy how I thought I was running a business and I thought people didn't know. But
Right.
you know, when you when you hit your bottom, like, tell us a little bit about what that was like. Because like for me, I got to the point where I looked at myself in the mirror and I just didn't even see, I didn't recognize that person anymore. And I wasn't even a man, because I let everything just destroy me. So my manhood and everything was just empty. And I remember looking at myself one time, and I just, it was like a ghost was looking back at me. I didn't recognize that person. So I'm just wondering how you felt when you were at that point where you wanted to make that change. People call it the gift of desperation, you know, and hitting rock bottom is a gift, but just kind of like to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, man. The same deal. I can remember doing that look in the mirror. Uh, so everyone's bottom's different. I don't think there is such thing as a rock bottom, because I think you can always keep fucking digging until you're dead. Your bottom can get lower. It's when you decide to put that fucking shovel down. Um, for me, I remember waking up in this bathroom right behind me. The night before, I had been up for all weekend. I was supposed to be at work on a Monday morning. I remember coming to realizing something terrible I did the night before, and just filled with guilt, shame, and remorse. Just fucking a shell of a fucking man sitting there in my bathroom, coming to. realizing my phone's dead, that I was supposed to be at work an hour ago. And I like stood up and looked at myself in the mirror and was like, what the fuck? I started driving to work, like, fuck it, I'll just come in late. And I didn't make it 2 exits down, and I couldn't keep it in between the lines. I was still fucking hammered from the night before. So I pulled off the exit to go to my mom's house. And I go to my mom's house and she's not there. And this is early in the morning. And I remember just being overwhelmed with the shame and the guilt and fucking wanting to stop, knowing that I can't. One of the things that I would get while I was like on the road was these minis, Absolute Lime minis. I don't know. I mean, it's a girly drink. I half embarrassed to say that that's what I would get, but I would get them all the time. So I'm like 15 miles from my house. It's early in the morning. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the liquor store opens. I go to this liquor store by my mom's house that I don't remember going to that often. And when I got into the liquor store, when they opened the door at 9 a.m. in the fucking morning on a Monday, I went up to the counter, and a girl that I didn't recognize was behind the counter, and she grabs Absolute Limes and she goes, "How many?" And I'm like, how fucking embarrassing is that, dude? Like, what in the actual fuck? So I went back to my mom's house drinking. And the night before, I had put Cameron, my son, in the truck. And I was thinking of how fucking terrible that was, and that, you know, I could have killed my best friend. And I couldn't live with myself. I'm an avid hunter. My dad's an avid hunter. My mom's got guns at her house. So as I'm sitting there think about, this is screwed up, but what caliber of gun would be the best one to put one through the back of my head so that my kids could see my face one more time? And we got a little rifle called a 17. That's a tiny little bullet, but I know if I put it in my mouth and blow the back of my head off, that my kids will get to see me one more time, because I'm selfish and arrogant and think everyone wants to see my face. But I stared at that gun for a long time, you know, bawling like a child, knowing that I couldn't stop drinking or using on my own, you know, just defeated, man, fucking done. But I couldn't do it because I love my kids so much. Didn't want to do that to my mom, to my dad, to my wife, to my sisters. I couldn't do it. So I picked up that phone that weighs 1,000,000 pounds sometimes. And you're an addict. I'm sure whenever you dealt with the ones you loved who, you know, showed concern about your drinking or drug use, you always had that one guy or a couple of guys in your back pocket who you weren't as bad as. And I had one buddy who I used as like my bar, and like, at least I'm not like this guy. And that guy had been sober for about 2 years. Wow. And he would check in with me all the time. He never pushed any kind of program on me. He would just reach out. And I knew what he's doing, and I never asked for help because I didn't fucking want it. But that morning I called him early in the morning after I decided I couldn't blow my fucking head off. And I told him, I can't do it anymore. And that was all the words I could get out. You know, I was broken. I was bawling like a baby. And that dude told me something that I'll never forget. He just said, "Shane, I know exactly how you feel." And I'm thinking, bullshit, man. No one knows how this feels. And the fact is, circumstances are different, but that bottom, everyone feels the exact same, man. It's complete demoralization. And I call bottom when you look up to God and say help. And that's what I did that day. It's funny. He got off the phone with me, asked me if I was willing to do whatever it took. I told him I was, because I was fucking desperate at that time.
Yes.
Meanwhile, I got a daughter and a son with special needs. My daughter's a baby. They're a lot of work. So he asked me if I'm willing to do anything. And I said, yeah. He said, "Let me call you right back." So he calls me right back and says, "Man," he said, "you're going to get on a plane to go to Austin, Texas for 90 days. And I said, "Man, I'll do anything, but I can't do that." And I was like, he's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, I was like, "My wife can't do that by herself. Like, I can't just leave." And he's like, "I already talked to her." And I'm like, "What?" So I was on a plane like the next day and spent 90 days at this treatment center doing whatever they told me to do, practicing these principles and trying to figure out who that was my biggest thing. When I looked at myself in that mirror, I didn't know who the fuck I was. That place taught me the person that I was, and also taught me that I didn't have to fucking be that person anymore. And today I am not that man. And they tell me all the time that the same man will drink again. And I can tell you, I'm not that same man today.
I feel the same way. I'm with you when people like say that you'll go back out or whatever, and I think people like are real judgmental with that, and everybody has a different story. Like I'm not in recovery anymore. I utilize different things in my journey, and that's just, we all have a different journey, but I will say though, when I had that gift of desperation, the same point that you were at, where I just, as a man, especially like, like you being a worker, a strong man, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just felt so, you hit it demoralized. Like you can't put it any other way. Just the lowest point of my life, where I just, when I walked into the rooms of recovery, I wasn't as nervous, because I've been to recovery before, and I've been to a few detoxes, and I've tried everything. But my problem was always that as soon as I had a forgetter, and as soon as I felt better, I was like, I can manage this, no problem. Like, but
You
those,
overreacted.
yeah, it's like, I'm just like, I'm not, and like you said, it's like you're always judging. You're like, I'm not as bad as that guy. I'm not as bad as Joey over there. He goes to jail and his girlfriend's crazier than mine. Like, and it's always like, that's kind of how I'm like justifying where I'm at in my life. So, but yeah, it's just kind of crazy, because I went to a few programs and I get in and out, and sometimes I'd even just park my car so my girl would drive by and see that I was there in the parking lot. But I just didn't want to get help. But then when you just really, it's so crazy. It's like, I think, well, I call it the gift. It's like the gift of willingness. Like, you're willing to do anything. And, when I first went into the rooms, I was willing to do whatever it took. And I listened to everything. Like, cause I was so desperate that I just wanted to have what they had, because they were sober, and then it looked like they were happy, you know what I mean? So, because not everybody that's sober is happy. I get it, but
Yeah.
the thing about it is, I was so desperate. I was like, man, this guy was telling me he went to prison and now he's 10 years sober. I'm like, yeah, I want that, because I couldn't live my life, and I remember sitting down, and I remember the day. It was like a Wednesday. It was like 10 o'clock, and I remember it was like fucking yesterday, dude. And I just said to, I put on my hand and I said, hey, I'm Craig. I'm an alcoholic addict, and I fucking need help, and I can't do this. And then I
You were
just I
beaten
did,
into a state of
yeah,
reasonable.
man. And I just followed all the tools that I learned, and I got real passionate about sobriety. I got sober, and I don't know if it was like I they say do 90 minutes in 90 days, and I did 5 meetings a day for the first 90 days. Like, I had like almost 300 meetings. I wasn't working. I didn't, and my wife, she was so supportive. So I just didn't know what else to do, because I spent all day figuring out how to get high. Like, you know what I mean? So if I couldn't go to
It's a
these
full-time
meetings,
job.
yeah. So once, I don't know, about the 3 or 4 months period, that obsession was gone, and I was just so focused on being sober, and I was just so passionate about just helping others. And I started sharing. I did 2 meetings a week at a detox, and it kept it green for me. I kept seeing people coming in and out. And like you said, you talk about people's rock bottom. Like there is no such thing, because it's when you're done. Like, that's when you decide it. But it could be, not as bad as before, or whatever. Could be worse. But I watched this guy 72 times come to detox, and he was 65. You know what I mean? Like, and I was like, God, how does this guy not get it? But that's his journey, man. And maybe he doesn't get it, but but it kept it green for me. And I just think that when you give service and help others and you live a life of abundance, you really can like learn how to live a life of sobriety and not relying on drugs and stuff. But how was your experience getting into recovery? Like, just, not going into details about, what, the program's about, but just your feelings in general. Were you nervous? Were you afraid? Were you just, how was your mindset? And how was the reception that you got as far as getting help for yourself?
Like I said, I went to that treatment center because I had been beaten to a point of reasonableness. At that point, I was pretty willing to do whatever they asked me to do. Was I nervous, scared, afraid? All of the above, man. That word God, I knew was going to be there, and I didn't want to hear that shit. I wanted nothing to do with it. My younger sister is in recovery, and I remember asking her right before I got on the plane. I'm like, "Do you still go to these meetings all the time? Like, how long do you have to do that shit for?" And she's like, "Yeah, I do." And I was like, "What about the whole God thing?" And she's like, uh, you get to decide what that is for you. And I remember that being hugely helpful because I was immediately turned off. Most people will tell me that they grew up Catholic and then that's why they're turned off. But I didn't grow up Catholic. But for everything that happened in my life that wasn't stellar, anything that sucked, I blamed on God. Anything that worked out real good was all me. So I had this huge resentment towards God, and I knew that God was a part of the program. So immediately I was turned off. But I was beaten enough that I was willing to give it a shot and try to stay open-minded. And turns out it saves my life. So, and you got to give it away to keep it, like you were saying. Nothing helps a drunk like helping another drunk. So I got, and like I said, I was a complete train wreck shit show. I was the guy nobody wanted to call unless they wanted to get in a fight or do some terrible things or, do this stuff. And I got guys that call me that I don't even like, I'm not that close with, that call me and ask for help, ask me how to get their life better. And that's a fucking miracle from what I was 6 years ago, 5 years ago. And it's, I'm blessed beyond fucking measure. And today, because I choose to work the program I'm in and help other alcoholics, I'm far from perfect, progress, not perfection, but I'm a father to my kids who's present. Try to be a good husband. I'm employable. I get to do all these things that sometimes can be a pain in the butt. I remember talking to a guy who's a lot smarter than me just the other day because I had all this stress building up, and I hate to sound like a victim. I don't like telling people my problems. I want to hold that shit in, and it keeps me sick. Because this program has taught me how blessed I am, and people pray for the problems that I have today. And like you said, I got a good forgetter too. I forget how bad that shit was.
Yeah.
But I also need to talk to people because the guy that's way smarter than me always refers to me as like a pressure cooker. Everything's okay until it explodes and it's not. And that's what I'll do. I'll tell you I'm fine. I'll tell you I'm fine. And then all of a sudden I'm not fine. And he tells me, I don't worry about you drinking alcohol. I worry about you acting alcoholically. And I still do a lot. But I'm a work in progress, man.
No, that's a big thing, man. When I went to recovery, I was there for 4 years straight. And then, I just, I have a different reason for leaving, but thing about the whole thing was, when I was in this journey, I was like sober, but I wasn't happy with myself, and I wasn't able to understand my thoughts, because I was being a victim, but in my head, but I was acting like I was being grateful, but I really wasn't. And I found myself really needing to search for, those answers, which I eventually found inside myself because, because what I learned too is like I can't change anything that's happening. So once I can understand that I can get use better tools of dealing with stress better, and stay present. For me, that's if I stay present, then I don't have a problem, because I find a lot of times if I'm depressed, I'm usually thinking about the past. And if I'm anxious or have anxiety, I'm thinking about stress of the bills or stuff in the future. And I really got to stay in that present moment. And it's hard, like, because it's life, you know, you got kids, bills, you know, things, you know, you give you anxiety, like, you know, it's just happens, money, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, just building those tools and learning to understand that, because after I put the drugs and the alcohol down and stuff, and I was like, the real Craig was there, you know what I mean? That kind of curtain was lifted. And I'm like, you know what? I'm still an asshole. I'm still selfish. I'm still like, I'm still that same guy, but we took booze and drugs out of the equation. I really have nothing to blame anything else on, because I can't really say, well, the reason why I was with that crazy bitch was, you know, I was doing drugs and shit, but really my mindset, and I wasn't, you know, I never had that self growth till a few years after I got out of recovery, and where my journey started, as far as where I needed to be mentally and stuff. And but yeah, a lot of people can fall into that trap of, it's almost like they call it white knuckling, where, you know, you're still going to meetings, but you're still acting like an asshole, and you're still not, you know, you're still doing those. Yeah, you're still, yeah, exactly. That's a really even better perspective. And you're still doing the things, you know, you're you know, still a womanizer, still, you know, doing the things, like, because for me, like, drugs, that addiction was one thing. And then I was a womanizer, I was violent, I was fucking addicted to porn. You know, I had trauma that I wasn't dealing with from my childhood, that I just wanted to victimize myself, you know. So and the funny thing is it's so common. That's what we all have in common, you know. And it's like, when people say, I know what you're going through when you're an addict, and you know, you've been an addict, you really do know what that feeling feels like when you're just fucking done and you're in that fucking trap. Like, my wife tells me all these stories about these addicts that she deals with, because, you know, she's trying to like keep families together when people lose their children. She's an advocate. She's trying to help these parents get clean and get their kids back, you know. And you know, it's very stressful type of job. But my point is like, when she's explaining and telling me this stuff, and I'm like, you know, I hate to tell you, but, you know, they're lying to you, you know, because, you know, they're just lying, because they're addicts and they're using, and it's just what we do. And she's learned to not be as gullible. But you know, it's just,
no one
crazy.
understands an alcoholic or an addict except an alcoholic or an addict. You know, I can't tell you how many times people I love told me, why don't you just stop drinking? Well, I fucking can't.
I know.
I fucking can't.
You know,
it's not, the program is not a self-help program, it's a God help program, because if it's left to my own devices, I do the stupid shit that I do.
Fucked. Yes.
Absolutely fucked. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
No,
weed,
and it's funny you say that, because it's funny, because I have this thing that I always say, preach about, is like, it's always me versus me. I have to get out of my own way. I am my own worst enemy. When I look at my track record, who I brought to this fucking game that I was playing was always me. Like, I would do geographical moves. I would move across Canada, and then I would always find the dope man. And I was wondering, well, God must be just blessing me with drugs in the middle of the fucking woods, because I just can't get away from the dope man. But I truly believe the energy you give off, the people you want to be around like that, you'll always find them. And now I don't look for those people. And the people that I'm around, I'm usually around people with high energy that aren't victimizing their lives, because that's who I am. And it's just, you know, that's who you click with. But the thing about it is, it's just so crazy how your mind will work when you're an addict, and also you can't get away from yourself. So that's the true battle. It's really you. It's no one else. And when,
away the drugs and the alcohol, and you're still there.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, the biggest. Go ahead.
Some people, I got friends who stopped drinking who are way more miserable, and it's fucked up to say, but it's
Yeah,
like you might as well fucking drink.
I
You
know.
know, I
Yeah.
mean, if you're not willing to change, then nothing's gonna fucking change. At
Yeah.
least you get some
Yeah.
reprieve from drinking drugs. It's a
No,
terrible
yeah.
thing to say, but I
No, you're
honestly
right.
feel that.
No,
I'm just being honest. Yeah.
no, I get that, man, because it's so true. And it's such a, like, there's such a gift to life. And we're like, our minds, man, our minds can be really, really detrimental to who we are, and we really have
Yeah.
to learn that we have to understand our thoughts, and it's not who we are, and we can always be a better person each day. And when we fail, like you had mentioned something that really resonated with me when you said, oh, I had all this shame and stuff, and that was one of the excuses why I would never get sober, is because I fucked so many people over, especially girls in relationships, that I'd get sober, and it's like, it'd be like doing a mushroom trip where all of a sudden your like ego is crushed, and all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, this is who I am. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I fucking did this. Glug, 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 do some pills, snort, shoot, whatever. And just to get rid of that fucking guilt feeling that I used to feel, like it was crazy. So for
Yeah. There,
me, emotions, going through that program, doing 12 steps and going through that whole regiment was so emotional to me. I remember just doing my 4 step and being sick, like I had the flu. Like it was so dramatic for me to really share all that stuff. But I'll tell you one thing, it was life changing. And to go through that pain, that's how I got over the shame, and that's how I was able
only as
to
sick as
kind
your
of
secret.
progress. What were you
Yep.
saying?
Only sick as your secrets.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
no,
Yeah.
and it's,
Even if it's just saying it, man. I remember that there's a promise inside the program that says, we will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. And I remember
yes.
the first time I heard that, I was like, you don't know my story. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you tell me that I won't regret some of the shit I did, like, I'm willing to fight you over it, because that's
Yes.
ridiculous. And the fact is, and I texted you this whenever I heard your first podcast, and one of my favorite things that I tell everyone is that, you know, cling to the thought that in God's hands, our dark past is our greatest possession. With it, we can avert death and misery to others. And when I first heard that, I had no idea what it meant. The person that taught me what that meant came up to me after a meeting one time, and he had killed his best friend in a drunk driving accident. Just got out of 12 years in prison, and he told me, you know, what that means is you have a story, and you have to share that story, because if you share it a million times and no one gets a fucking thing out of it, but one of those times somebody hears something and it makes them change what they're doing, or it gives them hope, then it worked. And that's in God's hands, because in my hands, all I do is feel guilt, shame, and remorse about it.
Yes.
Somebody also taught me that the difference between guilt and shame is guilt means you did a bad thing, and shame means I'm a bad person.
Mm.
Um, Today I'm not a bad person, man, and I'm truly blessed because of that. Doesn't mean I don't fuck up all the time though. Ask my wife. Ask my wife how serene I am every day.
No, that's the truth, man. That's real talk right there. And my wife said to me a month ago, because she asked me a lot of advice on addicts and stuff, because she deals with these clients, like I was saying earlier. And she goes, you're really wasting your potential. You're really selfish to not share your story more, because, not to get in the reason why I got out of recovery, but when I was in recovery, I was going to speaker meetings. I was talking. I was like an avid speaker. I was so aggressive when I was up there. It was almost like the CT Fletcher of AA, like, I'd
The
go to
pep rally.
detox. I would go to detox Monday mornings and Thursdays, first thing in the morning. And my whole thing was, I would start the meeting and I would say, hey, I'm Craig. I'm an alcoholic addict. If you think I want to be here on a Monday morning this early seeing you guys, hell yeah. And I would yell that, and people would go, what the fuck? This guy's crazy. But they would listen to me, and then I would get their attention. And then I would talk to people after and say, listen, man, I was living out of my Ford Ranger truck 3 years ago, fucked up on pills, getting deported, in jail, fucked up, didn't know where I was going, had no clothes, nothing, just what I had was what I was wearing. And,
Yeah.
you can change your life. So I was real advocate with speaking and just doing that stuff. And it really helped me. But my wife, she was like, you're really good at that. You should help people. And I was thinking, you know what? This is why I wanted to do these YouTube like little talks and stuff so that people could really understand that we're all the same. We're not special. But what we did was we decided to change ourselves, man. And we work at it every day. And we don't fall victim to our stories. And we're not just an addict in recovery. That's part of our story. But who we are today, the blessings that we are today is who we are, and it's just part of our game. It's part of the story. And I really think that, when people hear stories like yours and how you're staying sober, they have a little bit of hope, and it might plant a seed, man. It might plant a seed, and it might get people to go, hey man, I like your friend when he was trying to help you, but he wasn't really saying anything. I kind of have two guys that I'm close to that are fucking alcoholics. And I kind of just, once in a while, just check on them or whatever, or say shit like, they'll be like, yeah, one of them said they had a real bad headache. And I said, yeah, I used to get those migraines when I used to drink the night before and not drink enough water. Like just kind of letting them know that I knew what was going on,
Yeah.
but just to let them know that, man, I'm there, dude, I'm there. And, and when I don't,
Attraction rather than promotion.
yes, and that's the thing. And I think if more people were more, empathetic to people's situations and stuff, I think that, we could help each other a lot more. And it's really sad to me. And I'm going to do a documentary. I'm working on a documentary I'm going to do here in town, and just on just some of the homeless and drug addicts that are in the streets, but they're there for years, like 10 years, these groups of people. And it's just like, it just frustrates me because I worked at Stuart Marchman. It's a recovery center. It's a detox in a CSU. And, working there for a year, I really just saw that, the deterioration of, like the healthcare for addicts and the help that they need isn't really there. Like Florida has one of the worst mental health and addict kind of detox programs. Yeah, and that's the thing too. And also people stop caring. How many times did you say to people you were going to get sober? Like I used to tell people all the fucking time, dude. Oh no, man, I got it this time. I got it this time. I'm gonna fucking do it. And then like they hear that shit like 100 times. And then once I was getting sober, I was expecting people to fucking worship the ground I walk on because look at me, I got 90 days now. But fuck, dude, you barely got fucking a week, for forever.
I was taught I am not allowed to say sorry because my word means exactly jack fuck. I am not allowed to say sorry. I had to earn trust back.
100%, man.
And I'll tell
100%.
you what, man, what you're doing right now, putting this stuff on YouTube, like, I hope it helps people. I really do. And I think it can. And if you are out there listening to it and say, my situation is different, I had the same shit. I was terminally unique. I thought no one understood my side. My story is different. But if only you had the cards I was dealt, you would do what I do too. And
Yes.
that's a terminal illness that you have there, and that shit will kill you. And there is a better way, man. And I'll tell you right now, I am on Facebook. Anytime, any hour, if anybody ever needs help, please reach out to me, man. I'm always willing to talk because you don't have to live that way anymore, and you're not terminally unique. I do know how you feel, and I've felt that struggle. Believe me, I felt that struggle, and you don't have to do it, man.
That's a great message, Shane, and that's the truth, man, because you don't have to feel that way. There's hope out there. And even that guy I talked about earlier, that's 60 some years old, that had 70 some visits to detox, maybe 78 is his number. Who knows? But you never know. And people used to tell me, man, I remember when I was 13, I had a human resource teacher tell me that I was just going to end up in prison and be nothing. Well, I did end up prison and I did become nothing for a while, But you know what? Now I'm a somebody and I'm doing things in my life that I should have been doing a long time ago, but that's my story and where I'm at now. So if people don't have a little bit of hope or see an example of how you can change your life for the better, like I'm not rich, man. You know, I struggle and that's just life. But I want to be able to share the gift of being able to change yourself and to better yourself and to be able to bring your best self to each moment in life. And it doesn't matter what you're doing, because all I know is where I was in the past, I am so much better where I'm at right now. And, you know, it doesn't matter if I'm not going to be a millionaire or whatever bullshit that I have in my narrative in my head sometimes, but just to be able to help people and let them know that, hey, you're not alone, man. And we're all in this together. We're all like a huge family. And I think that people struggle, man. How many people do you know out there? I mean, that have an addiction, a family member, a friend, or whatever. We all know someone. We all know someone, because 7 out of 10 people that die of um, overdoses are from oxys, man. It's just a prevalent, like it's crazy. So we all know people that either have some kind of pill problem or some kind of alcohol problem, and it's usually because they have some trauma that they're not dealing with in life. And it's just, it's good for us to share that message of hope out there, and it's good for you to be out there like that too. And you put yourself out there on Facebook and you let people know what's up, because you know you're setting an example, and your kids now, you get to stay present in their lives and help them. I mean, and it's amazing what you can share to other men out there that are fathers of special need kids, and the challenges that you go through to be the dad you need to be, you know. And it's hard, man. It's frustrating.
Yeah, man. People pray for my problems, and people like your wife, man. God bless them. There's a saying that a lot of people say. It says like God only gives special needs kids to special parents, and I think that's the dumbest thing ever, because I was not a special person at all. But that little boy changed me into the man that
See,
God would intend me to
that's
be.
how it works. So right there, it makes you that man. So it's like, you know, there's a kind of a Bible verse that, and I'm not a big Bible thumper, but it's just it's about, you know, God will never give you more than what you can handle. But I don't believe that. I believe he gives you more than you
I,
can handle sometimes. But you know what? It always works out when you're in that place that you'll handle it. It'll change you. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
if that
I
makes
I
any
always say,
sense.
yeah, I always say, if God doesn't give you more than you can handle, then what the fuck do I need him for?
That's a, yeah, I've heard that perspective before too. So I just think that we handle more than what we can really handle, because it makes us listen, I'll give you an example. I couldn't handle, when I first got into arm wrestling, fucking losing. Like in my mind, I was the sorest fucking loser ever, ever. And
Yep.
sometimes I would even show it on the table, maybe punch the pad or walk away. Fuck,
Mhm.
you know, and there's kids there. I'm conducting myself like a fucking 5-year-old. Like I tell my kid when when he was 5 and throwing shit on the ground because he didn't win. I was like, I was looking at him going, here I am, a 45-year-old man at the time, acting like this fucking guy. Like he's 5 though. That's an excuse. But I tell you, later on, as you learn and progress, you learn how to change that. So it's like everything. So when I first adopted the kids, I was 44 years old. I never had fucking kids. I never thought I wanted to have kids. But as a recovering addict, I wanted to help out. One, I wanted to help out some children, and two, they lost their mom and dad from drug addicts, addiction, prison, you name it. You know what I mean? So thing is, I want to make a difference. But when I got them, dude, it was fucking so overwhelming. I thought, holy fuck, I am not ever going to be able to be a dad. I don't know how to fucking even take care of myself. But here I am, 5, 6 years later, and it's like second nature now. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you, there was times, you know, me and my wife almost split up over it because I couldn't fucking handle it. And I wasn't doing drugs and fucking getting fucked up. I
Yep.
just couldn't handle what the fuck I was doing, man, because there's no manual of being a dad. And at 44, I was like, what the fuck? So anyway, my point is to all this is that was a lot to handle. That was more than that. That almost crushed me. But you learn how to deal with it. And it's like when you go into the program, they teach you about, it's not about your problems, it's about a solution. So you find the solution. Because if you want to be the man that wakes up every day when your alarm goes off going, fuck, I got to get up and go to work, you're already in that kind of in that negative mindset. But if you get up when your alarm goes off and you say, yeah, motherfucker, this is what we do now, and we get up and go to work, that's how we get it. And that's what we do. We change our mindset and our perspective. But if you're going to go, oh man, like, when I work, sometimes Monday, Tuesday, guys are at work. I'm like, hey man, good morning. How's it going? I'm all right. I'm here. Like, you know what I mean? It's like fucking so negative and the energy's so low, but you're going to be there anyway. So you got to just fucking rise up, man. I truly believe that. And I see it anyway, because when people are negative, their energy's so low, it doesn't matter what they're doing. It's just so low. They're just so
happy.
Yeah, they're just not happy. They play a victim. It's boohoo me. And really, at the end of the day, you have to stop blaming circumstances and other people and take responsibility for your own actions, man. That's just grown up shit. That's all.
Our problems of our own making most of the time.
And like you said, people would die to have your problems. And I call them first world problems. We're just like, oh man, my fucking phone's not working, or my truck won't start, or you know what I mean? Like, it's so fucking crazy. Like, I could be in a great mood and then stub my toe, and then all of a sudden fucking I want to punch someone in the face. Like, so fucked up in my mind. But it's just like you say, you're a work in progress, and every day is just another day to do great things, man. Like, I don't know about you, but I learned something big in recovery that I really stuck to, and I journaled. And at nighttime, I reflect on my day, and I write down the shit that I could have did better, even if it was a response about something like I didn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was kind of quick with someone, or I was rude, or I cut someone off in traffic, whatever the fuck it is. So, but I write this shit down, and I want to look at it and then improve on it the next day and see where I fucked up. It's usually with my mouth. You know what I mean? I'll run my mouth too much with my wife, maybe, or something. And, I'll remember that I didn't stay in that character that I want to be, like, you know what I mean? So
guilty.
Yeah. Did you find did you learn that too, also in recovery, just to reflect on your day? So
yeah, I'm bad about
I mean, you don't have to write it down, but kind of just thinking about it in your head.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, whenever my head hits the pillow, I got things I do when I wake up. I got things I do when I lay my head on the pillow, to try and keep me the way that I need to be. But yeah, journaling early on is something that was huge for me. Writing down where I fell short, what I could have done better, and sharing it with somebody who's like me, and just being able to have somebody to bounce that off of. The program to me has given me, a village. There's somebody in my circle who's been in situations like me. My sponsor in the program understands special needs because he was a special educator for a long time, and I'm blessed to be able to have those kind of people in my life today to bounce that off of.
Yes.
And I'm also, like you were saying, I'm terminally unique. So I get resentful at people when they tell me that they got problems with their kids. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, my problems are different. This is harder, and it's a pour me, right? Pour me another shot of fucking whiskey, because if I keep thinking that way, I'll eventually fuck up. So like you said, I got to stay present. I got to realize that people pray for my problems. Yes. And that I am truly fucking blessed, man. I am, and I know I am.
It's so crazy, though. You bring up a funny point, though. People would argue about who has worse problems. It's like
it's insane, right? It is
so crazy. So do you have anything coming up as far as arm wrestling goes? You got any tournaments?
Man, I wish, man. No, I haven't been on the table, and it was like right before the lockdown happened.
Okay. So you're just chilling. Are you going to get back on though? Or
I'm so blessed where I'm at right now, because I got Morocco's is like 45, 50 minutes from me.
Dude, yes.
I got a team out. I got a team that goes in Pennsylvania that's even closer to me, that practice like 2 times a week. I got a guy that's like 15 minutes from me who's always trying to get people to come over to pool.
Nice.
But and this is an excuse, but my priorities are with my children right now.
That's
they're all young.
Man.
So
yeah, good for you.
My old man was an arm wrestler, and that's who got me in it. And you were talking about that ego losing.
Yes.
I didn't know about the sport, but my friends used to like bet on me at the bars. They'd find somebody who was big and strong and be like, that guy who's 140 pounds will beat you. And they're like, bullshit. So I would win money off people. But the first tournament I went to was at one of Travis's. I think it was the Dave Patton Classic in like 012 or something. My first match was against Jeremy Kessler, Gary Kessler's son. And I think he took second or third at Arnold's that year. And he was my first match. And everyone I ever arm wrestled was bigger than me. So I was pulling 54s and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking dominate these guys. And I grabbed a hold of that dude and was fucking flashed so quick. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Crazy.
And then Barry Hurst was in the class, another guy, Sean Biscar. Yeah, I got humbled real quick. Nice, yeah. And it's awesome having all these people here. But I also, one of my first tournaments, there was 4 people in the class. It was me, John Brown, Sam Harris, and Anthony Snook. Guess what place I took? Yeah,
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah. Those guys are all great pullers.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. You take some time off, get back in the swing of things. You're young, so hey, before I let you go, I want to just ask you one thing. If someone was out there listening right now and they were struggling with addiction, what advice would you give them?
It's never too late. It's never too late until you're in the ground, man. Reach out. There's people that are, dying to help. Me listening to you helps me, man. Please reach out. You don't have to hurt the people that you love. And that's one of the things that brought me in here too, because I was just sick of watching the people I love the most in the world get hurt the worst. And you don't have to do it anymore, man. There is a better way to live. And I'm more than willing to listen to your problems and teach you how I live. So that's what I would say.
I couldn't have said it better, brother. Thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Pleasure talking with you, Craig.
You too, Shane, and keep up the good work, man, and keep up the blessings. And thanks for sharing your story with everybody on here today. And I wish you all the best of luck. And I look forward to seeing you back on the table, brother.
Absolutely, man. We'll get back out there soon.
Yeah.
Have a good one, bro.